Shopify makes it easier than ever to build and manage your clothing store. So whether you're starting a streetwear, sustainable fashion, or a high-end fashion brand, Shopify is going to offer you the tools that you need to succeed. So in this comprehensive guide, I'm going to walk you through every step of starting your clothing brands on Shopify, from idea all the way up to launch to growing. So number one is to define your brand identity, right? Your brand identity is going to be the foundation of your business. It's what sets you apart from competitors and resonates with your target audience. Some key elements of a strong brand identity. Number one is going to be your mission and vision, right? So you need to define the purpose of your brand. For example, are you promoting a sustainable fashion or celebrating bold self-expression, right? Number two, target audience. Identify who your clothing appeals to. Is it millennials? Is it Gen Z? Is it working professionals? Obviously, we're kind of scratching the surface there. Like, you can even dive a little bit deeper into age, demographics, gender, like all that can be part of your target audience. How much do they make? Do they have kids? Where do they live? All these things matter when you're defining your target audience. Next thing is brand aesthetic, right? You want to decide the visual elements like colors, fonts, photography style. Your aesthetic should reflect your audience's preferences and the overall vibe of your clothing. And lastly, brand values, right? Emphasize values like sustainability, inclusivity, or maybe craftsmanship, right? All those things need to align again back to your audience. So an example is a brand targeting, eco-conscious consumers might focus on just minimalistic designs, maybe earthy tones, transparent sourcing practices, even having a dedicated page for sustainability, for example. Pro tip here is your brand identity, right? And defining your brand identity. Something that I would highly suggest for everyone to do is you just go to Canva, create a free account, search for brand kits. These brand kits will have sort of all these things laid out into like a single page. And that's really where you kind of want to start. You want to start with just a single page, make it easy, make it simple, but include all these things within that document so that at a glance you can see your brand, right? The tone of voice, the colors, the fonts, the type of photography that you would like to have, right? At this stage of the business, it's all about trying to get what's in your brain into somewhere written. And to me, using a brand kit template on Canva is the easiest way to visually try to envision the brand. And even if you already started, don't worry, you can come back to the step and put everything together here. This is definitely going to make things a little bit easier for you moving forward. So step number two is going to be to research the market, right? Thorough research is going to be critical to understanding the clothing market that you're going to be in, and also identifying the opportunities for your brand. So a few steps that I would take to do a little bit of market research is to analyze the competitors, right? So study successful Shopify clothing stores in your niche, right? What is it that they're doing right? What could they improve on? Number two is to understand the trends, right? Stay updated on current fashion trends and predict upcoming ones as well. Tools like Google Trends or Pinterest, Instagram, like they all can help in your research purposes. And lastly, you want to gather some customer insights. So you can conduct surveys, you can join forums, Reddit, you can analyze social media to understand what your audience actually wants and what their pain points may be. A pro tip here is to use Shopify's blog and educational resources to learn from other successful entrepreneurs in the fashion space. They actually have a really, really nice blog, and they do interview other successful owners, not just clothing, but other Shopify owners in general. And you get to learn exactly some of the things that they're using in their stores and some of the steps that they took, right, in order to get to the place where they're at. Another pro tip that I want you to look into as well is 1-800-D2C.com. We'll put this link in the description as well. But this website just allows you to research through a bunch of different brands. They may not all be in Shopify, but you will be able to research clothing brands that are direct to consumer, right? So they may not be the big retail box brands that are out there, but maybe a good in between, not necessarily starting out, but they're good in between brands. And you'll get a lot of good ideas just from going to that site and just researching some of the clothing brands in there. Hey, before we move on to products, first I want to say I'm Christian, one of the co-founders here at Bit Branding. We specialize in helping clothing brands scale online. We've served over 250 clothing brands in this last year alone. We would definitely appreciate a like and for you to subscribe so you don't miss any of our latest content. Let's jump into number three, right? Design and source your products, right? Your clothing designs are the heart of your brand, right? Focusing on creating unique, high quality pieces that align with your brand identity is going to be absolute key. So how to approach product design? I would say start simple, right? Launch with a small collection of 5 to 10 core products and test the market. That's maybe one of the biggest mistakes is you have this idea, this great idea, And a lot of times maybe the idea revolves around a logo, right? Which is a very simple design. And then slapping that logo on a bunch of different shirts, a bunch of different pants, a bunch of different whatever. I mean, hundreds of different products, because you have the opportunity to do so with things like Printful or Printify. But this is a mistake, right? Because when you first launch, nobody knows what your logo means. Nobody knows who you are as a brand. And just slapping your logo on a piece of garment is not really going to move the needle or inform the customers of anything. Like, there's no emotional connection with the customer and your brand just because you have a cool logo, right? That really doesn't sell. What sells is going to be that emotional connection that the customers are going to have with your brand. So the very first thing that I would do is just, again, start very simple. Sure, you can use Printful, you can use Printify, all these things. You can technically go in and design your garments on your own. These are all viable ways, and we've seen it work for different customers. So start with just a small core collection of products to test the actual market. It's going to take some time, right, for people to learn about you. So that's going to be the first tip there. Secondly is to, just use design tools, like, platforms like, Illustrator, Canva, Photoshop. Shopify may have some built-in tools now where you can actually bring some of the vision to life in terms of some of the products. And obviously even using things like, going straight into printify.com and just starting there and starting seeing maybe some of the designs or some of the things that they already have in there. That could be just a good way to kind of get started. In order to also get some different ideas, like Etsy, I think to me, it's just a great way to also do some research and think about different product designs, for your store. Lastly is to stay consistent, right? You definitely want to ensure that your designs reflect your brand's aesthetic and actually appeal your target audience. So you definitely don't want to deviate away too much when you're creating your products. If you have a different shiny object that you're chasing in the process, you definitely want to stay with that core collection of 5 to 10 products initially and start from there. Now, in terms of sourcing manufacturers and things like that, you definitely want to partner with some reliable manufacturers for some custom made designs for sure. You can use platforms like Alibaba or Markers Row to find suppliers and go about it that way. You also have the option, if you don't want to go through the manufacturing route, to do print on demand. So like we talked about, Printful, Printify, these tools integrate very easily to your shop manufacturers and things like that. You definitely want to partner with some reliable manufacturers very, very easily with actually holding inventory. Obviously, there are some drawbacks, right, to doing that. With something like Printful, for example, you have multiple vendors that you'll have to kind of choose from. And even if it's someone from California orders and someone from New York orders, they may get different vendors. So the quality of your product may not be the best if you use something like a print on demand, right? The quality control that you're going to have is going to be absolutely zero almost. So that's just something to take into consideration. Lastly, you can also do handmade products, right? So you could potentially just make them yourself. This obviously makes the quality of the product much, much higher, but then scalability is where it kind of suffers a little bit here. So I think there even may be a combination of all three within a store. I've seen it done before. So there's really no wrong way here on which lane you would like to start with, as long as you know that you have the previous steps very clear. Because really what we're doing here is testing the brand to see if there's a market for this type of product. Now, step number 4 is going to be to create your Shopify store, right? Now that you have your products ready, it's time to build your online store on Shopify. These are some steps that I would take, right, to get your store up and running. First up, you want to sign up for Shopify. I think they do have a 14-day free trial. You can actually hit the link in the description below. That will help us out a little bit. After that, you choose a theme, picking a professional Shopify theme that suits your brand. So for clothing brands, look for themes with clean layouts, high quality imagery. I personally like Stiletto and Broadcast right now. Those are like my top 2 that I've been using quite often for some projects. And then after that is just make sure that you add your products, right? Upload your images, write compelling product descriptions, set your prices, then you set up your collections, you organize your products categories like new arrivals, bestsellers, summer collection. And then after that is about customizing your site, right? Adding pages like the About Us, Contact, FAQ, sustainability, if that's something that you want to go after. All these things are going to be important to include within your store. Lastly, you want to enable payments, right? You want to connect Shopify payments. You can also do PayPal and some of the other ones like Klarna, Shop Pay, Apple Pay, all these sort of integrated within Shopify payments. So those are like very top level overview on how to do that. Now, as a pro tip here, and this stage right here, it's something that it can take a little bit of time, right, to fully nail down and get just right. But to be honest, like, it's more important for you to start and get something out there and then try to improve as time goes along. So don't think that you need to launch with a baller AAA website from the get-go. You could technically start with the Dawn theme, which is Shopify's free theme, and get something going and then improve improve over time. I've seen this done again and again. Actually, a brand that just comes to mind, Dad Gang. They sell hats. I think they may still be on the Dawn theme. And what they did is like they just purchased 100 hats. So actually when the manufacturing route, they purchased 100 hats and then they got on Shopify, the free Dawn theme, and then they just published it. They just went out and found dads that liked that product. They had an emotional connection to the product. And they're actually doing insane right now in terms of sales. But that's just a good example of like, you don't need to have something super polished to get launched and get started. So step number 5 is going to be to build your brand's online presence, right? An online presence is going to be key to attracting customers and driving traffic to your Shopify store. Just setting up the website store and letting people come in, like that's not going to work. You need to actually go out and tell people that you're here, right? So your social media strategy could look something like this, right? First, pick what platforms you want to use. You want to focus on Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest. Those are probably going to be my top ones that I would focus on. And I would maybe even not start with all 3 of those from the get-go. Just start with one. Start with Instagram. Get comfortable with it, right? Step number 2 is going to be that right there. Post consistently. You need to share a mix of product photos, behind the scenes, user-generated posts to actually engage your followers. And lastly, you definitely want to collaborate. You definitely want to partner up with some influencers, partner up with some micro-influencers who actually align with your brand. Next up, it's going to be some kind of content marketing, right? So you want to start some kind of blog so you can share tips or styling guides or trends. You can also use video to do maybe tutorials, unboxing, lookbooks, etc. And then lastly, I would say email marketing. Email marketing and building your email list to send regular promotions or send the automated, emails that you see all the time when you visit a website and you don't necessarily purchase, right? All those things are going to be important for you to have in the back end. When it comes to email, my go-to is definitely going to be Klaviyo. They do a very seamless integration with Shopify, and that again in conjunction with creating some kind of content marketing, right? So either creating blog posts or creating videos, and then having some kind of social media strategy in place, like social media strategy, some kind of content strategy, and having your email strategy. Obviously, this is a very high level view, right, of everything that's going on with your brand. But those 3 pillars to me are going to be the essence of your online presence, right? You have your website, but then these 3 pillars are definitely going to catapult you into that next stage of actually getting traffic into your website. Now, step number 6 is going to be to launch your store, right? So after preparing your products, building your website, spending some time on figuring out how is it that you're going to communicate to the world that you're here, the next thing is to actually launch. Go fully live, right? So steps to a successful launch. Number 1, you definitely want to announce your launch. You want to create buzz on social media, teasers, countdowns, also doing it through your email campaigns. Throughout this whole time, you definitely want to be able to capture some email addresses, get some interest in your brand for sure. You also want to offer some kind of incentive, right? You can use discounts, you can use free shipping or limited time offers to encourage early purchases. And you also want to test your store, ensure that everything's working properly, all the way from payment processing to mobile, just making sure that everything is great. One of my biggest pro tips here is to just do a soft launch. Soft launch is going to be where you turn the website on temporarily, or maybe you have it password protected only for friends and family to go in, identify any issues, they can purchase some of your products, that way they can actually support you, and you can see how the back end actually works. And I would do this so that you actually get an idea on how to print the shipping labels, how to go through that process. If you're gonna maybe do some refunds for some of your friends and family that are ordering, I would also test that as well, just so you have an idea how that will work. Now, after your store is launched, step number 7 is going to be to market your brand. So marketing is essential to drive traffic, to build awareness, right? So number 1 is going to be paid advertising. You have to use Facebook, Instagram ads to target specific audiences based on the demographic interests and shopping behaviors that we talked about before. You could also run ads on Google. So you can have search-based traffic coming in to your store. The other way of doing marketing, right, or marketing your brand would be through SEO. So SEO optimization, it's a free way, right? They say it's a free traffic, but it's not necessarily free. There's a lot of work that goes into SEO, but optimizing your Shopify store for search engines, using relevant keywords within your product titles, collections, descriptions, meta tags, building, blog posts within your store. All those things are going to be important in order to attract new traffic that may be searching for those terms in your store. My pro tip here is to install an app for SEO. There's a bunch of them. Avada is one that just pops into my mind right now that will help you at least get the technical SEO things out of the way. The last thing that you want to know about marketing your brand is going to be collaborations and partnerships. To me, that's just a very easy way that I think a lot of people tend to neglect for a long time. But if you're starting your brand and you can get ahead of collaborations and partnerships with, like, it could be other brands, it could be actual creators, influencers, you know, hosting giveaways, doing like all those things are going to be absolutely incredible for your brand. Like, what was it? Like, whenever Aaron and I started Bit Branding, like at the very beginning, we went to a lot of Chamber of Commerce, right? And tried to make a lot of connections with a lot of people. And to me, like, yes, we've done a lot of different things, you know, in the past, but to me, that made us feel more real, relevant. Like, we're actually talking one-on-one to people, and it makes the brand feel a little bit more alive, right? That you're making some of these connections, and these connections can open doors to other things. So don't be afraid to just get out there. You could also potentially do in-person pop-up events and things like that to connect with customers directly. I think doing an online brand where you're always just staring at a computer, it can get a little bit lonely, or it can get a little bit difficult. So I think making that connection with people, it's what I think is going to sustain you and move you forward and propel you even faster than ever before. I also wanted to say, with marketing your brand, that if you're a clothing brand owner, or you're about to be a clothing brand owner and want to jump into the specifics of your brand and how to grow it profitably online, you can actually schedule a free 45-minute strategy session with us. Obviously, there's some limited spots, so you can definitely go find a time right now. There's a link in the description below. We'll walk you through maybe what you're doing, what you're planning on doing, and how to move you in the right direction. Now, step number 8 is going to be monitor and improve your store. So after launch, it's crucial to continuously optimize your store for better performance, right? Using things like Shopify Analytics, Google Analytics, Microsoft Clarity, like these are all metrics and things that you want to track in the back end. Conversion rates, average order value, where your traffic is actually coming from. All these things are going to be super important. Something like Microsoft Clarity actually can give you heat maps, can give you session recordings on how your customers are navigating your site, right? So all these things are going to be super, super important. Other things that you can do here is just listen to feedback. Encourage customers to leave reviews and testimonials so you can actually improve your product and get better. You can also regularly update your designs, collections, again, based on customer preferences. You can expand your offerings at this point, right? Once your store actually starts to gain traction and making that connection, then you can consider expanding into new categories, accessories, maybe seasonal collections, etc. The last tip that I have for you, step number 9, is to just stay committed to growth, right? Building a clothing store for the long term, it's a big commitment, but staying consistent, keep innovating, don't shy away from learning from your competitors. That's it. That's the big overview that I have for you. Now, there was a few steps in here within this video that obviously need more time for you to drill down and learn a little bit more about it. One of those things is going to be building your actual Shopify store. And for that, depending on what you are, a streetwear, a luxury brand, maybe a one product store, I implore you to watch this video here next, where I walk through the exact steps on how to build your store on Shopify. All right, see you on the next one.